Hi everybody, it's Marcy, and if you were sent by your site manager to come find this video on behavior management for the summer of 2026, you have come to the right place. So let's just jump right in and get started. I know in talking with your site managers and with a lot of you and in doing some observations that we're having a lot of problems with kid behavior. We have kids that are running wild, kids that are not following directions, not listening at all, and are actually becoming more physically aggressive as well. And I'm going to give you some strategies to rein in those numbers, to try to help these kids to have a good time. I know that you guys must be getting really frustrated, maybe a little discouraged, and are not doing what you came here to do, which is to help kids have an enjoyable summer and to do fun activities with them. And when they are not enjoying themselves and you're not enjoying yourself, and everybody's just having a miserable time. So I don't want you to be miserable. I want you to enjoy your job. And so here's some things that we are going to work on, and things that we're going to do. So what's happening is that kids are not following group directions because they don't think that they apply to them. So when we say, everybody clean up, they're like, my name's not everybody. So they're not following that direction. Kids are not worried about being sent home because we haven't been sending them home for this misbehavior. Parents are not taking this very seriously, but there's not a whole lot I can do to fix that. But what we can do is send those kids home so the parents can deal with those behaviors and they can take care of it. So what do we need? We need, one, to give better and more specific directions. We need to hold the kids accountable for their behavior and decisions. We need to reward the kids that are doing well and send home the ones that are not doing well. We need to keep them busy and engaged. Bored kids are naughty kids. And just watching a video on the screen, putting a screen on or a movie on is not keeping them engaged, okay? It might be something that they're used to, but that's not the fun things that they came here to do. A little bit of screens is okay, but more they want and need to be with you, okay? So this is what we're going to do. The first thing is that we are going to set these kids up to succeed. Okay, we want them to have every opportunity to do it right. So the first thing we're going to do is do a reset. Every day when you get your group of kids, whether that's like at 9 o'clock or 2 o'clock or whatever, you are going to do a reminder of the rules. Now, your club may already do that in the morning before you get started, where you go through and all the kids recite the club rules about respect. But if not, then I want you guys to do it in your classroom. First thing you're going to do, you can read it out loud and they can repeat it, or they can read it all out loud together depending on the age of the kids. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to go over the community agreement that you guys created at the beginning of the summer. If you think that that community agreement is no longer helping your group, then take 15 minutes tomorrow and I want you to create another one with those kids, okay? Maybe the kids that were there at the beginning of the summer aren't there anymore and you need to do another agreement, and that's fine. Maybe all those kids are there and the agreement is good, you just have to review it, okay? So every morning after you talk about the rules, you're gonna go over the community agreement, okay? That should be hanging up in your classroom. And then revisit it anytime you think that your group needs it. If they're having a really tough day, maybe they need to redo it. Maybe they're doing really well and you want to point out, hey, look at the things on our community list that you guys are doing. Good job, okay? And then you're going to do something called front loading every time you go into your next activity. Now, eventually, as this works, you're not going to have to do it, but I would say for the rest of the summer, you're probably going to have to do this. Front loading basically means you are preparing them for the expectations going forward to the next activity. When my kids were little, I used to stop and think, what could possibly go wrong before we walk into a store, before we drop them off at school or whatever? So let's say that your group is going to leave your classroom and you're going to walk down to the cafeteria for lunch. You stop and think before you even start talking to the kids. What could go wrong? What has gone wrong in the past? They're going to run. They're going to smack into each other. They're going to cut each other in line. Things are going to get spilled. They're going to be rude to each other or to the people in the kitchen, whatever that might look like. when you have their attention and they're all lined up ready to go, stop and ask them, what are some things that we need to remember before we go? You know, hey, Charlie, you said that we all need to walk. Excellent. You're right. Okay, Eva, what do you think? Oh, yeah, we need to stay in line and not cut each other. Excellent. If there's anything that they forgot, then you can kind of gently remind them so that they remember before they even get started what is it that they are expected to do. And then if they need reminders on the way down to the lunchroom, then okay, they might need a couple of reminders, but hopefully not as many. So that's called front loading. You're going to do that before each activity, okay? Whether you're going into art or you're going outside, going to lunch, whatever, right? And then you're going to give directions to specific children using specific instructions. We are not going to say things like, everybody clean up, or everyone start getting quiet, because you don't have a kid in your classroom called everyone, and they are not going to listen to you, okay? They don't think it applies to them because that's not their name. What you are going to say are some very specific things to specific children. For example, Erica and Steven, please pick up the Legos and come back to me when you're done. Charlie and Sven, please push in the chairs. Come back to me when you are done. And you're going to keep doing that until every child has a specific thing to do. Okay? It can take 4 or 5 kids to push in chairs. That's fine. Okay? It might take 6 kids to put away all the Legos. And they didn't even have to be the ones who got out the Legos, because we're not playing the game of, I didn't get it out, I don't have to put. No, yes, you do. Everybody helps. Okay? Now, when they come back to you, you need to be ready with the next thing for them to do. Now, I like to say things like, pick up 10 pieces of trash and throw it away. Or scout around and see if we need to hang up any backpacks. Anything like that, okay? And then the last thing, as everything's getting done, you might say, oh wait, thank you for coming back to me. Go ahead and go sit in a circle by the TV, okay? You could also say, go ahead and line up at the door, but don't make them line up for very long, because that will not stay. You've seen that already, right? You say line up at the door, next thing you know, they're poking each other, they're cutting each other in line, they're pushing each other out of line. So don't have them do that for very long, okay? Every time they do what they're supposed to do, thank them. Hey, Sven, you pushed in the chairs. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now you can go pick up pieces of trash. You need to keep track of who's doing what they're supposed to be doing and who's not. And I'll give you more on that in just a few minutes, okay? And then, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Everybody gets one reminder to stay on task. Okay, none of us are perfect. Sometimes we need reminders. So you might say, Sven, you were asked to push in the chairs. Please do that now. Thank you. Okay? Now, let's hope he goes and does it. If he does it, then you're good to go. And then everybody, well, let's say he doesn't do it. Everybody gets one reminder of the consequences of their behavior. For example, Sven, I've asked you twice to push in the chairs. Please do that now. Thank you. Or if you need to be asked again, you're going to the front office. Okay? Now, this one's really big. Write this down if you've got paper. Do not say it unless you're going to do it. Okay? If you make empty promises, we're not going to call them threats, because going to the front office is not a threat. Okay? But if you say you're going to send them down there and you don't, they will not believe you next time. Okay? So only say it if you're going to do it. Now, let's say that Sven doesn't push in the chairs and you're going to send him to the office. You're going to call on the radio. Sven's coming down to the front because he was asked 3 times to push in the chairs and he still hasn't done it. You're going to avoid asking them questions such as, do you want me to call your parents? Okay, they're not in charge of the consequences. They are in charge of their choices and their actions. Of course they're going to say no, but it doesn't matter. They don't get to choose that part. What they get to choose is whether they're going to follow directions or not. Okay? Now, remember I said you got to keep track. If you go to the site manager and you say, all the kids in my class are naughty, nobody follows directions, and all they do is run around. Well, what is the site manager going to do? Are they going to send all 20 kids home? No, they can't do that. They need specifics so that they can take care of specific problems. You need to give them the specifics. So I recommend either just a piece of paper, you can use a clipboard, a notebook, a scrap of paper you put in your pocket, whatever that looks like, that has a list of all the kids in your group that day. Okay? If you have to ask Sven to push in the chairs again, put a check mark next to his name. You have to ask him again, check mark, set it next to his name. And then when you send him to the office, make a little circle around it. Okay? Keep track so that you remember Sven was asked to push in the chairs, and he was asked 3 times and he didn't do it. Okay? Now, very likely you are not going to have time to just sit down and write out one of your forms for a misbehavior right that minute. I mean, it's probably just you in the classroom, you're on your way to lunch, and you've got 19 other kids to take care of right now. But when you have that note on that little piece of paper, when you have a chance, go back and you're going to write that out. Okay? Now, if you have a kid that does a great job and they push in those chairs as soon as you ask, then they picked up the Legos, then they picked up paper, you put a plus sign next to their name. And that way you can remember that besides just saying thank you, you can let the site manager know, hey, Eva did a great job today. She was super helpful, and I want to make sure that that message gets passed on to her parents. Okay? Now, let's say you've told Sven, please pick up the chairs, or push in the chairs, and he didn't do it. You tell him again, push in the chairs. And now he does it. Now you've already made 2 check marks, but he did it, so you can just cross them off. Okay? We're not perfect. None of us are. And sometimes we need reminders. Okay? So if he needed reminding, but it worked, just check that off. Now, when you give directions, you need to make sure that your group is completely quiet and ready to hear your directions. Okay? You can absolutely use the little attention tools that you were taught or that you've used before. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. And the kids say, 1, 2, eyes on you. The second they are quiet, you jump in and you give the direction. Okay? If you're not ready to give directions, don't get them quiet. Okay? Because if you're like, okay, I got your attention, and now you start talking to other people or you get on the radio, anything like that, you've lost their attention, and you're going to teach them not to listen to you. Okay? So you did your 1, 2, they said eyes on you, and then immediately you're going to give those directions. Now, if they start talking while you're giving directions, stop. Do not start again until you have their 100% attention. Now, let's say you did your little attention grabber and it didn't work, or maybe 2 kids said eyes on you. Thank those 2 kids, praise them, and then you're going to walk around and get everybody's attention. That might mean a quick tap on the shoulder while you're doing 1, 2, 3, eyes on me, to let them know that that's what you expect. You expect them to participate. And you're going to keep doing this until everybody is getting quiet. Now, practice does not make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So you need to make sure that the last time they answer your attention call, that they are doing it right, all of them. Okay? Now, if you've already not had success, like you've been yelling 1, 2, 3, eyes on me, it's not working, change your tool. Okay? So now maybe you're going to go to K1 waterfall, and they're all going to go shh, and then you're going to jump in. Okay? That's up to you to decide. Okay? Maybe they've outgrown that one and they've been trained not to use it. Move on to the next one. Okay? Now, you want to reward good behavior. It does not have to be over the top. They're not getting a blue ribbon for following directions and picking up Legos. Okay? But we do need to model a few things. First of all, say thank you. Okay? We want them to say that to us and to each other. So tell them thank you. Be specific about what you're thanking them for. Hey, Sven, thanks for pushing in the chairs. Okay? You told him exactly what you value and what it is that he did well. Tell them why that was helpful. Asimond, you really helped us get to lunch faster when you cleaned up the Legos so quickly. Thank you for helping us. Now, if your club does Katya cards or something else that is a reward for good behavior, you can use those. Those are excellent tools. Please do not overdo them. Okay? If you're giving a piece of candy for a kid every time they follow directions, they're going to expect to get a piece of candy every single time. So use it sparingly. Use the Katya cards sparingly. Okay? So yes, use them, but don't use them every single time. Okay, keep them special. Tell the site manager or the lead something nice to compliment that child about when their parents come. And they're going to do that when the child can hear them being praised. So if you tell Chuck, hey, Sven did a really nice job today, really helping another kid feeling accepted and welcomed. Will you make sure and tell his parents today? Chuck will say, sure. So that when Sven comes down to meet his parent, in front of Sven, Chuck will say, hey, just letting you know, Sven did a really nice job today and really helped another kid feel welcomed. And so we wanted to let you know they did a good job. Okay. One, parents want to hear good stuff. Trust me, being a parent of kids that have not always had that luxury, that sometimes you get tired of hearing the negative. So even if it's your naughtiest kid, if there is something to praise, please find it so that they get praise. But also that child now knows that you noticed and told their parents, and that's a big deal. Okay. Now, giving directions. Hold on. You need to give directions in a very specific way. Okay. First, use their name. Names are very powerful, and think about how long people spend in just naming their children. When you use somebody's name, that's a connection that you have with that person. Okay. Use their names. Second of all, be specific. Okay, you're not just going to say, hey, second graders. You're going to say, hey, Erica. Okay, please push in the chairs. Okay, very specific, and then come back to me. Okay, say please and thank you. Again, we're modeling good behavior for them, and we want them to say please and thank you to us. You need to be at least 5 feet away from a child before you give that specific instruction. Now, I'm not talking about emergencies. I'm not talking about calling kids in from the playground. I'm talking about, it's time to go clean up or whatever. You could probably stretch it to maybe 8 or 10 feet, depending on how many kids are crowded around you. But please avoid shouting across the room, Charlie, please push in the chairs. That's ineffective. Okay? Be closer. Most adults do that, by the way. They just yell out the directions. That's not what we're going to do. Okay. Avoid ending your directions with, okay. So you're going to avoid saying, Julia, please pick up the Legos, okay? Because that tells Julia that it's an option to pick up Legos, because then she'll just say, no thanks. Okay? So the directions are not optional. So do not end with, okay. Follow through with consequences every single time. You have to do it every time. I'm telling you, that is very powerful. You have to be consistent. Okay? And then also, we're not going to be yelling or screaming. I know that you might be getting frustrated. I know that you might be getting discouraged. You might think that I just have to get louder and louder and louder to get their attention. But all that does is make them get louder and louder. Okay? Bring it down. You might have to repeat yourself a few times. That's okay. You'll be okay. All right. Now, you are going to run into misbehavior, right? Of course you are. So here's a list of some things that the kids may do and some reactions that I want you to try, okay? So we're going to start with whining or just a poor attitude. I don't want to clean up. This is not fair. I didn't do it. I didn't put the pencils on the floor. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to sympathize. You're right. Cleaning up is not very much fun. Then you're going to encourage them. Okay. But as soon as we're done, we're going outside or we're going to lunch or we're going to the next activity. So, and then repeat the directions. Let's clean up these colored pencils as quickly as we can. You might even consider doing it with them. Like, hey, I'll jump down and help you for just a minute while you get started. Maybe that will help you. Okay? But do not let them trick you into doing it all for them. All right. The next thing is I don't want to do this activity. I don't want to make a bookmark. I don't want to make fake snow. That's dumb. That's stupid. I don't want to do it. Okay? Again, sympathy. Well, you know what? The first time I heard about making fake snow, I didn't think it sounded fun either. But I tried it, and actually I think it's really fun. I think you might enjoy it. Encourage them. Let's try it for a few minutes, and you can always take some fake snow home to your parents. And then you're going to move forward with whatever direction your site manager gave you for kids who don't want to do activities. Do not let them just sit out. And please don't ask, who wants to do fake snow? Because they're all going to say no. Nobody wants to do it, even if it's the coolest thing they've ever heard. Okay? So then you're going to, if it's, you know, okay, well, you're going to try for 10 minutes and then you can go read a book or whatever it is that your site manager has told you during training is okay to do. Okay? Name calling. A child suddenly turns to another child or turns to you, another adult, and says, "You're a poo-poo head." Okay. Immediately stop the behavior. Manage the conflict. There's usually a reason why a kid has said that. Maybe they're arguing with another kid. They're not getting the activity they want. Manage that behavior. Help them fix it. And then move on from there. It might be that they need to apologize. Maybe they need to write a thank you or an apology note or thank you note or something to help repair that relationship. Okay? Because we don't call names at Boys and Girls Club. Okay? If it happens again, send them to the office. Now, name calling that is regarding race, gender, abilities, or appearance, racial slurs, anything like that. You're going to stop that behavior immediately and immediately send that child to the office. That child is going to be making a phone call home or they are going home. There's no additional warnings for that. That is a respect thing and they know it. Okay? So those things are not allowed. They will be heading out. Okay? Swear words of any kind. Now, this is the thing. The older kids, maybe they're allowed to swear at home. I don't know. But they know there's no swearing here. Okay? And if they don't know that, then tell them. We don't use that kind of language here. I don't care where you use it anywhere else. We don't say those words. The little kids may not understand what is swear words or not. The other day, my youngest blurted out a word that was not appropriate. I didn't even know where she'd heard it. Turns out she heard it from her older brothers who were in high school, and she didn't realize it was a bad word. So now she does, and she knows that's not okay for little girls to say, or little kids in general to say. Okay? I've had little kids come up to me, they said the SH word to me. Well, obviously you know the word I'm thinking of. Turns out somebody told her to shut up, and that hurt her feelings. Still not okay, but you don't have to suddenly send them up to the office because they told another kid to shut up. Okay? So, swear words, again, stop it immediately, send them to the office, they're making a phone call or they're going home. No additional warnings on that. Physical aggression, hitting, kicking, pinching, biting, shoving, any of those things to another person, to an object, or anything at the club, stop it immediately and call the office for help. This could escalate if it hasn't already, and you're going to want some extra backup. Okay? That kid is going home early and possibly suspended if they've done it before. Again, I can't tell you how long they'll be suspended because I won't know until we find out like that kid's already done it 3 times or whatever. They are not getting additional warnings for this. Okay? So, let's see. A couple of reminders. Only site managers or leads can talk to parents about their child's behavior or make phone calls to parents or send a child home. Now, at LSG and Keystone, you guys aren't going to see the parents very often unless you're walking back and forth. And at LSG, almost never, right? But at Ness, the kids or the parents are coming in where the kids are to pick up their children. So YDPs, you're going to be right there. Please remember that it's the lead or the site manager who can talk to parents about behaviors, okay? Now, MSS, front desk people, you may be asked by your site manager or lead to make a quick phone call. So they might say to you, "Hey, front desk, will you please call Jolene's parent because she just hit a child? Please ask them to come and pick them up and I will talk to them further when they get here." That's all you're going to say. You may have witnessed more, but that's all you're going to say. You make a phone call and you tell the parent, "Jolene hit another child, we need you to come and pick her up." "What? What happened? Blah, 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 blah." Okay, just repeat what you just said, okay? All I know is that so-and-so asked me to call you to come pick up Jolene because she hit another child. But they're happy to go over this with you when you get here, okay? Only site managers have the authority to suspend a child. So, and they've had lots of training on this, so they know exactly what they are allowed to do. Leads, you may not give the ultimate suspension, okay? But if you're the only one here, because it's your time to run the club, and a child hits another child, then what you can say to that parent is, this is a suspendable offense. I will call and check in with my supervisor, and I will let you know for sure what that looks like by the close of business today. Okay? And then when they leave, you're going to call either your site manager, or if they're not available or they're on their time off, then call me. We're going to go over it, and then I will, like, yep, you're right, that kid's going to be suspended for this amount of time. And then I will leave it to you to call that parent and let them know that their child has been suspended for whatever length of time. The only ones that can expel a child from our program or a family from our program are Sarah and Wendy. So please let the site managers be the ones to talk to them about it. They're the ones, there are several steps they have to go through first, and all that kind of stuff, because expulsion is a really big deal. And they're the only ones. I don't have that authority. The site managers don't have that authority. That comes from Sarah or Wendy. Okay? All right. So now I want you to get out that piece of paper and pencil again, or pen or whatever. Write this down. It's my email address. mmastel, MMASTEL, at BGC, Boys and Girls Club, Spokane.org. Okay, so first of all, if you have questions about this training, if there's anything that you want to know, if there's ideas, frustrations, or anything that you want to share, bring it on. But you are all going to email me a code word. This code word tells me that you have been through this whole video. So please don't share it with anybody who hasn't already watched the video, okay? So when you email me, you're going to email me the code word peanut gallery. After you do that, then I want you to list at least one thing that you learned or one new thing that you're going to try to help your kids to have a better experience and for you to have a better experience, okay? Again, if you have any suggestions, bring it on. I know you guys can do this. Let me know if you need help, and enjoy the rest of your summer.